Higher, further, faster. Captain Mar-Vell has officially arrived in the MCU, ladies and gentlemen, and boy did she make one hell of an entrance. With Avengers Endgame right around the corner, we finally got our first look at the hero who should have Thanos shaking in his gauntlet. Carol Danvers was everything I'd hoped she'd be and more. So let's discover what makes her a hero by taking a look at my top 10 favourite things about Captain Mar-Vell. Number 10, Talos and the Skrulls. Comic book fans have waited years to see these guys on the big screen, especially considering they could change the face of the MCU as we know it. Skrulls are shape-shifting aliens that can take the form of any other living creature. This makes them exceptional at infiltrating any of their enemy's forces, which we see often throughout the film. Ben Mendelsohn plays their General Talos, and given his talent for playing excellent villains, his casting was a natural fit. However, our expectations were thoroughly subverted, and it turns out the Skrulls weren't exactly who we thought they were. Or so we think. Nevertheless, I am greatly looking forward to any and all appearances in the MCU from these crafty creatures. Number 9, the visual effects. Hats off once again to the incredible visual effects team at Marvel Studios. Everything set in space looked so realistic and was just visually stunning, from the cityscapes of Hala to the visits with the Supreme Intelligence. Every time Carol took flight, surrounded by flaming light, was just a beautiful sight to behold. But the main reason I wanted to shout out the CGI in this film was simply this: the de-aging. As fans and film watchers of the MCU, we are no stranger to this kind of technology, and it gets better and better every time we see it. But nothing prepared me for this. Not only did they do a bang-up job of making Phil Coulson look like a young and fresh-faced agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., they made Samuel L. Jackson look exactly like he did in Jurassic Park. Hold on to your butts indeed. Number 8, the 90s setting. Is it weird if I feel old now that a film set in the 90s is called a period piece? Regardless of my issues with that, the 90s setting of Captain Mar-Vell was something I was so looking forward to. From the moment she crashes down into that blockbuster in 1995, you know you're in for some good callbacks. The fashion, the music, and oh my goodness, the technology. The slower 90s tech was probably my favorite part of this entire gag, especially when a tense moment is broken by Carol and Talos being visibly appalled by the amount of time it takes for an audio file to load on a 1995 model computer. It serves so well to convince the audience just how unadvanced human technology is compared to the tech of the Kree and the Skrulls. Considering almost 25 years later and Earth is barely catching up with our alien counterparts. Unless you're Tony Stark, of course. Number 7, the music. Whilst I'm still on the 90s train, I have to talk about how good the music is. Nothing really helps to set the scene like a good melody, and Captain Mar-Vell has those in abundance. Featured throughout the film once Carol gets to Earth is a string of 90s classics that really kicks the nostalgia into overdrive. We get Whatta Man by Salt-N-Pepa, Only Happy When It Rains by Garbage, Waterfalls by TLC, You Gotta Be by Des'ree, Come As You Are by Nirvana, and Celebrity Skin by Hole, just to name a few. These were songs I grew up with, songs that I remember hearing on the radio or seeing on TV. Watching them used in such cool ways in a Marvel movie was super exciting and helped to make the movie that much more enjoyable. Number 6, Samuel L. Jackson. I knew seeing the future director of S.H.I.E.L.D. in his days as an agent would be good, but not this good. Samuel L. Jackson brings it so wonderfully as a Fury sporting 2 eyes, a full head of hair, and a warm presence not yet made cold by the troubles of his job. He's the same man we know, except with more spark and a whole lot of fun. Jackson's chemistry with Brie Larson felt so natural, and I loved every single second that they were on screen together. Another great thing about young Fury was seeing him interact with Goose. He is so adorable with her when he thinks she's just a cat, and his reaction to finding the truth out about Goose is absolutely hysterical. Turns out Goose was the last being Fury trusted before he lost an eye, and seeing how he became a one-eyed man finally was just awesome. Number 5, the Stan Lee tribute. I don't think I've ever watched a movie that has made me cry before the film even starts. In November 2018, we lost the great Stan Lee, one of the true legends of Marvel Comics. His tribute in Captain Marvel wasted no time. It was during the opening credits for the Marvel Studios logo. Instead of the usual flashes of our heroes, Avengers and Guardians alike, we got shot after shot of every single Stan Lee cameo from throughout the MCU. The audible gasp and sadness that swept over the movie theatre was just heartbreaking. Our Generalissimo is with us no longer, but thankfully we still have some cameos to come. The cameo in Captain Marvel was brief but beautiful. Carol runs into Stan on a train while she is chasing down a Skrull. Stan is seen rehearsing his lines for Kevin Smith's classic film Mallrats, which came out in 1995. Such a clever cameo, and the happy glances the two of them exchange just warm my heart. Excelsior Stan, we miss you. Number 4, Brie Larson. I had no doubts about the Academy Award-winning actress kicking ass in this role. Brie Larson absolutely nailed her performance as Carol Danvers, and she impressed me so much considering she had never taken on a role like this one before. I really love the subtlety she brought to the part, the way she emotes in certain scenes being quite reserved. And yet then she can go in the complete opposite direction, letting it all loose in a fight scene, fighting with her emotions and showing great strength. She fits perfectly into the shoes of Carol Danvers. She imbues her with such a commanding presence and a great wit. Her sense of humour is just wonderful. I've been saying this to everyone, but I think her and Steve Rogers will get along quite well. For me, they represent the best qualities in any good soldier: a willingness to fight for what is right and an ability to recognise when the fight is wrong. Number 3, Carol Avenger Danvers. With all the cool reveals and great Easter eggs that this film has offered us, I would have to say that this one is my favourite, and it is one that I did not expect at all. Right at the end of the film, after Captain Marvel has left Earth to join the fight in the Kree-Skrull War, we get one final check-in with what our younger agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are up to. Coulson brings Fury a new set of eyes to choose from, whilst he is typing up a certain document that will come into play a mere 17 years later. It's called the Protector Initiative. Sounds familiar, right? Well, after Fury takes a heartfelt glance at one of Carol's old Air Force photos, he notices her call sign, Avenger. Immediately, he changes the title of his initiative, and we learn exactly where Earth's mightiest heroes got their moniker. It was all because of Carol Danvers. How perfect is that? Number 2, Goose the Flurkin. Goose, the best kitty in the galaxy. I had read earlier reports of Captain Marvel that had stated that this particular ginger kitty would steal the show, but I don't think any of us had any clue. She could seriously give baby Groot a run for his money. At first, Goose just seems like an ordinary cat just wandering around the Air Force base. Then she follows Carol and Fury around, and we get some beyond adorable scenes of her being affected by gravity. That's so cute, you say? It won't get any better, you think? Wait. Our first suspicions were raised when Talos reacted with fear to Goose, which was highly amusing to see. But the moment we all discovered exactly why he was so afraid of her will go down in MCU history. Goose is not a cat, but a Flurkin. They look like Earth kitties, but they are definitely not. I don't think I was able to close my mouth for quite some time after the shock of that reveal. And my number 1 favourite thing about Captain Marvel is just a girl. There was a reason I didn't mention this song earlier when I talked about the music in this film. Growing up, No Doubt was one of my favourite bands, and Just a Girl was one of my favourite songs. It just represents such power and defiance and rebellion, and I just love everything it stands for. Which is why its inclusion in Captain Marvel was my favourite scene in the movie. Carol Danvers has unlocked the full potential of her abilities after her confrontation with the Supreme Intelligence, and she is ready to let loose upon her enemies. It was the perfect backing track to watch her kick total butt to, and she does so with style. It becomes clear that Carol is so much more powerful than we thought, easily taking down opponent after opponent and with not much trouble. Just a Girl really helps to accentuate the importance of this moment, as well as simply being an awesome track to have in a superhero fight scene. There you go guys, my top 10 favourite things about Captain Marvel. Let me know what you think by commenting below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more videos just like this one. You can also find me on iTunes and SoundCloud as one of the hosts of a podcast called Fred and the monthly Little Freds. I've been Kendall Richardson and you've just experienced Collectible Chaos.